This episode, let's talk project management. In this episode, the Handyman Pros have a discussion about managing major projects. The pros recently responded to a listener who was contemplating becoming their own general contractor. We thought it appropriate to talk about what goes into a whole house build and about managing projects. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled, Let's Talk Project Management. To help explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John, what have you been doing this week, John?
Yes, Larry. Hey, man. Oh, what have I been doing, Nothing. How's that?
Well, at least you're honest. I mean,
well, I'm honest. Why lie? No, actually, I've been doing some work here at the house. I'll discuss that in later on. But I did. Matter of fact, I have been talking with one of my good friends. Doesn't live that far from here, but he is going to start to get a bunch of things done in his house. Okay. They're going to try to redo the kitchen and the floors and a bunch of things that I had done here and so on and so forth. Anyways, I said, hey man, before you go into that, let me, I'll come over and kind of, help you along here. And I think that's part of our conversation here of it's not as easy as this looks.
Yes. That would be. It's not that it's difficult. I guess the question is when we talk about saving time, money, and aggravation, John, we're talking about being eyes wide open, right? I guess especially on this one, right? And especially when you're talking about when I was just that what got me was when I got to think about it was so he's just doing the inside, just some of those things. Now that can be you still need to project manage it, right? You still need to. Think things out. Go, like you just said, go into eyes wide open. Make sure that you understand the whole process. Let alone trying to be your own general contractor to actually build a whole home. Right.
That's a lot more complex, a lot more moving parts. And so there's a lot of things there that you really now I had thought about it, and I know my limitations, and there's no way that I was going to do be a GC myself. Right.
We've discussed you and I on the handyman side. We've discussed should we go get our general contracting license, and we've discussed this at length, and at our ages and things like that, we don't see the advantage in doing that. So for us, it's a no-go. But we wanted to bring this discussion out to our listeners because we actually did I received a text from one of my customers, and they were like, we're thinking about building a house, and, we can save 25 to 30%. And I'm not averse to it, but we're going to bring out some points in this conversation that are not necessarily reasons not to do it, but generally just some things. It's back to eyes wide open. You got to know what you're looking at before you jump into something like this, because this thing can eat you alive if you're not careful. Do you agree with that, John?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a reason why there's a 25% cost in having somebody build something.
Right.
Right. I mean, by the time you get done with this, you could be 50% down.
Or more,
and that's just not maybe just the hard cash, the money, but the amount of time that you're going to spend trying to, corral cats.
Right, and learn a skill set that, gosh, if you're just doing a one-off, I don't know. It's kind of one of those deals.
And I know there's people out there listening that know a great deal about this, and but I've talked to those folks. And they're like, no, don't do it. Now, so as we get into conversation, we can talk about the whole house construction thing versus, a
major
doing a kitchen.
remodel. Yeah, a major remodel, kitchen, bath.
Yeah, a major remodel, or maybe some point of a rehab where you can get your arms around a room or something, But this other side of things is that's a real other animal right there.
So with that, let's set the stage. So building out of the ground is literally building out of the ground, right, John? That, to me, number one brings in a whole series of things that you need to understand. Now, I mean, can we do this? Sure, we can do. John and I both. We can do this. We can manage this. But this is just it. So you buy a piece of land, and I don't care where that piece of land is. The first place that I start is, hey, how do you actually get onto that piece of land, right? So you've got to come across the curb. You've got to come in with a driveway, and while that seems simple, that can require engineering. It requires engineering. Any building plan that you're going to do, you're going to have an engineer sign off on it. Now, most architects, will come up with, and they'll take care of that to a large degree, but you're going to have all of that sort of things done. There's grading permits. There is, in our county, at least where I live anyway, you can't break ground for a major project without needing a permit to grade off the dirt. And you have to have a plan as to what are you actually going to do with either your excess or are you bringing in dirt. Most of that requires engineering. There's groundwater concerns. There's runoff concerns. There's a whole series of things that just go along with just moving dirt on a piece of property. And folks, that's where you've got to start. You start at the dirt, right? Because if as they say, a strong foundation is built on whatever it's built on. So these are the things. Compared to, John, now walk me through a major remodel. Say you just want to finish your whole basement. You're going to put a kitchen, a bath, a bedroom, and I guess that's it. Say you're going to make a mother-in-law suite. What's involved there?
Well, I will tell you the first thing to do is just stop in your tracks for a second and kind of visualize. This is me, though, okay? Visualize what's about to take place.
In your case, that would be, do you really want your mother-in-law moving in with you?
Well,
never mind. Sorry, that's an aside. By the way, John's mother-in-law is wonderful. I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, put the locks on the other side of the doors. So, it's one of those things where, I always pause on a big project and I kind of just sit there and envision how this is going to go and kind of, picture what's happening. Does the current situation deal, with a demo? Is it, who's going to be responsible for what time frames? I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but you just mentioned a couple of things. You got, maybe you're putting in a new bedroom down there. You're putting in a kitchen, so now you've got some major things. And folks, if you're out there and you know how to do some project management, get your project management software, do something, and start to kind of envision how this is going to go. Because if you're going to get people to come out and do it, you really need to be educated on what's about to happen. Just so, everything's great, okay, but it's just expectation setting. I think we say this a lot in, hiring a contractor and things like that, but it was just, how to set that expectation so that what's going to occur, when it's going to occur, who's going to be responsible for it, and, the outlay of, funds going through this project.
Right. Along with, you have to, and you said it, start with that vision in mind. How do you want it to look, right? So what is it and what are your goals?
That's right.
What are you trying to do? What's the flow going to be in the in the building or in the basement, in this case if you're doing a basement, but it's the same as if you're building a house. What's the flow going to be? What's really, really involved? And there's just, if you start there and you work your way backwards, you can actually work it in. Then start working on your rocks, right? So there's always going to be a couple of things that are kind of a rock, if we call it that. Like you hit it and you're like, what do I do? Do I go around it? Do I go above it? One of those things that I found, particularly lately under this COVID situation, is supply. The supply side has been challenging as of late. Do you agree with that, John? I mean, it's been tough to get stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to, exactly. I was just going to say part of this is seek advice on appliances and other major pieces of this project, because that's going to be just like manufacturing, just like going into any manufacturing plant. It is going to be lead time. lead time on obtaining materials, lead time on obtaining, tiles for showers, appliances. Know what you want, so that you're building. How to build around it.
And I'm going to say recently, don't assume that things are there, because we've had, I'll give you an example. We're doing this job over in Athens, Georgia, and we've been working on it. We went down, we said, we ran out of new construction electrical boxes, right? This is just a plastic box with 2 nails in the side, right? We go in to get some. There's not one to be had in the store.
I just did the same thing. You know what? I snatched up the last one because I usually carry a couple.
Right.
And I was surprised, and folks, this is a good lesson right here, is that don't assume that these things are in stock, because I was surprised. It's just a little piece of plastic.
Yeah, and in our case, that would have been a hard stop for us. Now, fortunately,
exactly,
we went across the street. Knock on wood, we were in one of the big box stores. Across the street was the other one, and I think we grabbed the last 2 boxes they had across the street. And I asked somebody in the store, I go, "What the heck's going on?" And they go, "We're just. This is a supply side thing. They're just short of them right now, and obviously demand's way up right now. So it's just." But don't assume, folks. Don't think like we're working on, again, in this project. We're like, well, we need a sliding glass door and a regular man door, just a regular 36-inch door. And we're like, what's our lead time on this? Well, long story short, it's 4 to 6 weeks on the slider. The man door was in stock, but that 4 to 6 weeks is a 4 to 6 weeks window that we have to fill with something. Now, fortunately, we were ahead of the game enough on that one that it's not going to be an issue. But you really don't want to be stopped, especially for something simple, based on your supply supply side, item, right? And that goes for everything from scheduling. If you're going to have permits, you got to get inspections. You got to get, you got supply. You got whatever it is that you need. Don't assume it's there. Don't assume it's readily available anymore. It used to, 2 years ago, it was a little different story, but right now, stuff is in rare supply, and people's time is in rare supply. So if you're dealing with subs, any kind of subs, I don't care who it is right now. John, is everybody busy? Well, let me rephrase that.
Everybody's busy right now. And, if you're going to call somebody to do these things, it was not going to be unusual to hear, you're going to be at least, 2 months out, maybe.
Right.
Before somebody get there.
What's your schedule in the handyman side, John? How far out are you right now?
I'm a couple weeks out.
Yeah, I'm more than a month, and I'm actually committed probably for most of the rest of the year. Believe it or not, I got a couple of big projects we're doing this year. I think I'm done for the year. I think I'm out of time. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so that's just us.
And that's just us. Yeah.
You talk about some of these businesses out there. They're really booked up, and good people are hard to find. So that's another crunch that they're running into. Anyways, everything thrown into that formula is one of make sure what you're getting into, and the lead times on some of these products.
Yeah, on products and labor too. And then there's money, John.
Yeah, and then there's money. We're talking about being your own GC, but if let's take it from, if you were going to build your own home, as one of your folks was talking to you about. Right. There's a lot of money and headaches going on here, okay, and a lot of complexities with dealing with subs, and finding who's going to do what, who's going to do the floors, who's going to do the framing, who's going to, you really there's a lot of things going on here, and people are going to be asking for money, and you got to get you're going to get your arms around, how you're going to pay, these folks. Are you going to do it on a, job completion? Are you going to do it on a milestone? Are you, how is all this going to be set up?
Yeah. Do you pay them weekly? Just depending.
Right.
What is your plan? The other side to that is that how are you going to finance the whole project, right? So if you're building a home, for example, construction loans, I hate to tell you, are pretty expensive. The rates for the construction side, they don't write you the mortgage on that because there's nothing for them to mortgage other than the land. So they write you a construction loan. And I'm not going to get into a long, drawn out thing on finance and things like that, but construction loans are comparatively expensive. Yeah. And they don't generally carry those loans out more than about 12 months because basically if you can't get a house built in 12 months, you don't know what you're doing. But at the same time, that money ticker is running, and little mistakes can really draw that number out, and that's not something that most people want to stomach, and we talk about it all the time about that most people underestimate the cost of things, especially in home repairs and home renovation and repair. And some of it has to do with outdated thinking. I can tell you that if you haven't done this stuff in a long time, if you haven't been current in a long time, folks, is only 2 or 3 years ago at this point. Your concept of pricing is way off, even if it's right. 2 or 3. I'm doing this job with the Athens Handyman GA, and he's my old buddy. And I've got to tell you, he hasn't been in this gig in 20 years, and he's way off. I'm like, dude, you're not even in the same. Yeah. You're dreaming here. He doesn't even know about modern technology. I call it, as I kind of laugh. Some of the building materials. He's like, what's that? I'm like, yeah, that's the latest plumbing technology.
Yeah, like, but that's a good point. Is that it's things are changing. Really, really quickly, and especially on the supply side.
Right. Yep.
That's one of those things where you can really get bit going into a project.
Right. Yeah. Just in swings. I mean, John, we mentioned earlier, I don't know, several months ago, we did a show, and I think I punched up a picture. A 2x4 was $7.50. Now they've since come down, but boy, if you're right in the middle of a project and you were paying $7.50 for a 2x4x8, wow, ouch, right?
Well, and that's something, let's take for example, if you're going to be your own GC, that this is something that you're going to have to contend with, right? Is the fluctuation in pricing of the materials when they're needed,
right? And they are
unless
you're
going to buy all the materials and stash them on the lot, which no, not really. So you're gonna have to. I mean, there's just so many moving parts.
Many moving parts, and it's
versus. I was going to say versus going back to your example of doing a basement or something like that. Now I get my arms around a lot of it. I just need to. There's some things that are, just knowing what the lead times are,
right,
on a lot of that stuff,
right.
So I would recommend, folks, if you're and a lot of people that are a lot smarter than I am in this business told me don't do it.
Don't. That's right.
Don't do it. If you've never done it before, don't do it. And that's it. That's advice. Now, like I said, contrast that with just doing a kitchen and things like that. You get your arms around, but the same kind of rules and things that would apply. At least in my case, I would still put a project plan together for myself, and I'd actually run it by the guy.
Right.
I'd listen to him.
Right.
If they're going to do it, if you're going to hire somebody, give me your vision. What's your approach to doing this, and I'm going to put something together so that I can at least follow it.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about time, too. So if you're doing these major projects, and when we say time, what we're talking about is how much actual time are you going to spend working on this project? And we're not talking about swinging a hammer. What we're talking about is inspection time and all this kind of stuff. My opinion is if you're going to do a big project, particularly if you're building a house, and even if you hire a general contractor and you're building a house, my advice is, or I tell people, you need to be out on that job site at least every other day at a minimum, and every day is better, and sometimes multiple times a day is even better. And John, do you want to go over why that is? Can you explain some of those, or why I say that?
Well, I'll also say this is that if you can't be out there because you got another job, right? You're working,
right?
Go and investigate getting somebody that can do inspections for you, and hire that person.
Yep. Very
and
much
have
so.
them go out.
Yep. Independently hire them.
Independently,
Yes.
and let them go out, instead of you. Once again, if you've never done this before, you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
That's kind of it, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing where really a trained inspector can look for, some code violations or other things that are not done properly that could hold up the whole, the whole project.
Well, and they also have, and John, we talk about this in the handyman side all the time. It has a domino effect, right? So
that's it.
We work on the vast majority of jobs that I do are fixing problems from 20 years ago. I mean, I talk about this job with the Athens Handyman's GA, and in that job, we've been putting drywall up, John, and in that job, we go to screw the drywall in, and we're missing the studs, and we're like, how in the heck are we missing the studs? Well, for one time we stuck a level up on the side of one of the studs in the wall. It didn't bubble, meaning it wasn't vertical. It wasn't vertical. Now, the house is 20 years old, understand that. But we then went down the wall, and of course, the next one was fine. The one before that the next one after that was fine. But there was one stud that had not been put in, was not vertical. And we went to screw drywall through it, and of course, we punch a hole through it. We have to move it over. It was a half an inch off over an 8-foot span. Well, and folks, that's not right. That's not right.
Well, and besides, to go along with that, you want to make sure that when they're doing things that it's being done right. There's ways to do things. There's ways to do things right, and then there's perfect. And of course, we always say, well, you can't really afford perfect. I'm not expecting perfection, but I do want my renovations or this house that we're having built or whatever to, follow good business and construction practices so that I don't wind up in 5 years with a major problem of wood rot, that because this is leaking or the window wasn't installed correctly. I mean, when you think about it, folks, there's just so many things going on. When my house was being built, I'd come over here sometimes. There'd be, 10 or 12 guys in here.
Right. Right.
And you're looking around going, wait a minute, what's going on?
What is happening?
Everybody seems to know what they're doing, but it's like, but there's all kinds of things to ensure that is getting done right.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And we're not asking you to become trained inspectors or anything like that, but it does help when you're doing any kind of these projects. There's tremendous resources online. You can go down, John, GC comment. This was one that you said to me, and I know this is true. And gosh, if you're contemplating GCing your own home build, go down to the local community college and take a couple of courses, because there's some fantastic courses for very, very nominal money. I mean, you go spend $200-300 to take a course on how to build a home, and folks, if you don't get a payoff on that, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, right.
I'd be surprised. Right. I mean, I would be shocked. All that is one teeny tiny mistake. I mean, that's just drilling one hole in the wrong place. Put the hole in the granite countertop in the wrong place. That's $300. Boom, done. Right? Simple things. Right. So go understand these processes. Everybody looks, they look and they say, well, I want to build a $500,000 house, and it's 25% of that. That's $125,000. I go, yeah, it's $125,000. But it's easy to. Is it easy to eat up $125,000 in a house build, John?
Yes.
Yes.
And I will tell you, like, I'll go back to, you want it done right.
Yes.
Because, that I know that's a lot of money, but man, I'll tell you what, 10 years goes by quick.
But John, I don't make that much in a year, and I could save myself that much money just me doing it. I can't believe that you would say that.
I was just, but it's one of those things that, thank God I caught a bunch of things that were going on in my house when they were building it. And there was other things that I didn't catch.
Right.
And there's no way you can catch everything.
You can't catch everything.
But, I did catch a lot of it. And that has paid off, but just think about the windows and the potential just around the windows and doors and things like that. They're not put in correctly. They may work, they may look great, and you get a little tiny leak somewhere. Boy,
well,
like I said, 5 to 10 years goes by quick, and next thing you know, you're redoing the whole thing again, and now you got another, $20,000-$30,000 worth of work being done.
Well, and some of those things. So on this show we've discussed wood rot ad nauseum, right? I mean, unbelievable numbers of times. It's those little those little leaks that you never see. They never get to the drywall. They never get in.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Next thing you know, you've got major compromise on a wall that otherwise you didn't even know it. Yeah, you didn't even know it.
And other things like, there might be places where the way they're putting siding in where, animals can get in there and things like that. I mean, everything's nice when it's new.
Right. Looks good.
But it doesn't take it. Time goes by pretty quick, and then before you know it. Anyways, there's just some advice there to educate yourself and set those expectations. And
so we forgot the one last thing, John. Aggravation.
Well, anybody out there who's either bought a home, had a home built, what aggravation is. It's all about you're dealing with people, the subs. I've had to deal with some of those guys. I had to deal with, the head of construction. I had to deal with the CFO of the company. I mean, you talk about, I'm making another phone call, and then it's the wrong materials I'm going through a couple of things here, right? It's the wrong brick that got delivered. It's the, well, can we just I didn't want that brick. No, take it back. That kind of thing.
I can tell you stories myself,
Yeah, so it's that kind of thing. And so the aggravation is a culmination of everything. And, I think one thing that, I learned in just being a sales guy is my biggest aggravation point was just not knowing.
Right.
That was the one thing. And I think along those lines, it's a good communication between you and whoever is performing the work. And that is something that I would always stress to somebody is to put in writing, how often you're going to talk to people. When am I going to get an update? All those kind of things. So you're building a house. You need to have an update. They don't want to provide an update. They want to go home.
Strangely, okay? John, that sounds like the things we did on how to hire a contractor. We did 3 shows on how to hire exactly a contractor.
Right. So I go back to that. So how we need this constant communication. And so on and so forth. You can go back and listen to that show. I'm not trying to rehash that one, but it's I think going back to what I say that it's my biggest aggravation was just not knowing. And if I know, great, then we can do something about it. But these guys, a lot of people they just want to go home, right? And so it's like, no, wait a minute, every Friday let's have a 15-minute meeting. What happened this week, so on and so forth.
Well, you have to do that, right?
There's adjustments in, excuse me?
Well, you have to do that. That's just basic project management. You have to have an understanding of what's happening because otherwise, I want to go back. Did they deliver the wrong brick to your house?
They delivered. It wasn't the brick as much. I can't remember. It was one of them. It was either the roof or something. And they were trying to, say, well, we're just going to, they just wanted to use it.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And I said no.
You said no. So folks, the reason that I key in on that one is I have seen in my years of doing some of this kind of work, and I've built a couple, not I haven't built, but I mean, we've had general contractors that have built a couple of houses for us over the years, and they brought the wrong product, and they installed the wrong product. And boy, you want to be friends with your contractor? Look up at the roof or look at the brick and go, that's the wrong brick. And the guy goes, what are you talking about? That's the wrong brick.
Right, exactly. Oh, you got that right.
So you got a choice. Take it down or you're giving it to me for free. What do you want to do?
Well, that aside, I had a friend of mine that their next door neighbor had the wrong brick put on their house.
Exactly.
And they wound up stripping that whole brick off.
Exactly.
And so that was not a fun project for the contractor.
Well, I mean, but it's details, right?
It is details, and that's why a lot of this is, hey, I can manage this kind of thing. Yeah, you talk about the aggravation that comes along with this, the time, money, and aggravation. You can really get into a quagmire.
You made a comment before the show. You said sleep and lack thereof.
Yeah, no sleep. Well, because you know what? You're going to be up at 10, 11 o'clock at night trying to figure out what's going on, right? Or you're going to be up early making phone calls, and if you're not a GC and you're not doing this for a living, you've got other things to do.
Right.
So you might be, whoever out there, might be like me. I was a sales guy. I don't, what am I doing? I got things to do.
I got things to do.
So that's one of the things, just to keep in the back of your mind, everybody, is that, when you do these projects, once again, my recommendation is to, set those expectations, put your project plan together, kind of educate yourself on all this kind of stuff, and you're going to be a lot more comfortable going through that.
Yeah, and I concur, and really think these things through. Give it, as we say, I'm a big cause and effect guy, right? So think about the things that you're doing. Don't forget, just for example, if you're GCing and you do have a full-time job, number one, this becomes your part-time job. So think about that. It becomes your part-time job, your nights, your weekends, and even parts of during your day. So think about some of the cause and effects. If you're spending time on it doesn't matter. Say you work at XYZ company and you're spending time on the phone talking to your contractor all the time, or not even your contractor, but your subs in this case, even your contractor. What's the effect of that on your ability to produce for the company that you work for?
That's it.
I mean, I'm leaving that one up to you, but I'm not. And two, John, are we saying don't do this? No, we're not saying don't do this. What we're saying is just really go in eyes wide open. Think this thing through. Don't just look at a dollar figure and say, "Man, I can do it." We did our show on the TV shows and how they make it look so easy and so simple. Folks, they don't show you anything. In fact, they don't even show you the real pricing. So while they make it look easy and they show you how much money they supposedly made at doing flips and stuff like that, I know a few people that do flips, and let me tell you, they don't win them all. No way. In fact, it's a business, and it's a business like a business. And I don't want to get into that, but it's all it glitters is not gold. Just be eyes wide open. Go in and do a small project first. Do you agree with that, John? If you want to do something, do a small project. Hey, go out and build a shed.
That's a great. That's absolutely right. Do a small project, start off, and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people will, might have a current house that they want to, before they even go out and build another house, renovate a room, really renovate.
Yeah.
Not remodel, but renovate.
Right.
Okay. You'll get the taste and feel for what's happening
pretty quick.
Yes.
Pretty quick. So I was doing some renovations the other day. I happened to be at night. It was at night. Why does this always happen at night? So I'm standing there in the house. I've got the lights on, and all of a sudden, outside in the window, I see this flashing circular thing coming down. John, it was a spaceship. It landed right in front of me. What was I supposed to do with it, buddy? What am I supposed to do with it?
Oh my God! You got to take that baby apart, baby.
I did too. That was the beauty of it. I was doing the job. I had my tools. Apart it came. Folks,
project management.
That's project management. That's right. Folks, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. You can go to our website. You can leave us a voice message. We are also on Facebook at Handyman Pros, and you can follow us on Twitter at Handyman Radio. We really appreciate you listening. We will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.